How to be charismatic. Being charismatic is a vital skill to be able to attain connections, build friendships, and gain romantic relationships. And as I said, you need to understand that, like confidence, being able to speak and articulate yourself well and influence individuals to follow what you do and follow the same path that you're going on is a skill that you can practice and you can develop. So with that being said, as usual, I want to break up the video into 5 steps and one book recommendation at the end. Let's get into it. Number one step, and one of the most important steps, is that you need to learn from the best. I was having a drink with a mate of mine today, and we had a discussion in terms of individuals that are in certain positions of power. You may think an individual is incompetent to be in a certain position, but I told them that every single person, whether they like it or not, is in the position that they deserve to be in that specific moment. An influential person is in a position of influence because they are influential, whether you like it or not. So you need to learn from the best, and you need to be competent enough and astute enough to understand that you have to take the emotion out of it when you're trying to study in people of influence. I can tell you there's certain individuals that I've been studying in terms of gaining a certain level of charisma, a certain level of being able to articulate my thoughts in a competent way. One individual is Andrew Tate, very controversial person, but he's way to increase his pitch, his tone, his hand motions, and the way he communicates just draws attention, whether you like it or not. Whether it's good attention or bad attention, he gains attention, and that makes him extremely good at sales. So one mentor in terms of my communication is Andrew Tate. Another one is Donald Trump, a person that is extremely controversial, but what I've learned in terms of communication from Donald Trump is that he's extremely confident, and that confidence you feel it. You kind of feel that confidence whenever he speaks, and also commonality. He understands his target market and he's able to exploit his target market. He's a businessman, he knows what he's doing. Next individual that I study a lot in terms of my communication is MLK. MLK is a very motivational, powerful, thought out communicator. He takes his time. Whatever he says has a meaning and has a purpose. He says it with power and conviction, and that makes you feel uplifted. MLK, there's a reason why we still study him today. Everything he said had power, and it gave power to, especially me as a black individual, it gave power. And lastly, I would say my favorite communicator and the one I study the most is Barack Obama. Barack has literally everything. He's charismatic, he's confident, he knows his target market, he can gain attention, he can be able to be slow and powerful, but not to a sense where that power feels condescending. Barack has everything when it comes to communication, and he's my favorite communicator and somebody that I really enjoy to study. Next, you need to understand that it's okay to learn from others, but you have to learn from yourself. The main reason I make these videos is obviously to help others, but it's also to help myself. Because whenever I make these videos, I look back on it and I understand, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I improve? What certain hand motions can I add that the best are doing? How can I be able to gain more influence in terms of the way I'm speaking? You need to study yourself, see what you're doing wrong, what the best are doing, and to be able to put that together so you can improve. That's the main reason why I don't put any editing into my videos, is because I want to see how I can speak over a long gestation of time without any form of filler words or any form of stuttering. Next step, as I mentioned, filler words. This is specifically geared to younger individuals. A lot of us use like and before speaking, before saying a point, and that just makes you look unknowledgeable. It makes you look like you don't know what you're speaking about. It makes you seem incompetent. So to be able to say what you want to say, to be able to influence as many people as you can, you need to cut out filler words. How do you cut out filler words? You need to be cognizant of the filler words that you use. And you need to be also very, very, very careful in terms of, instead of using a filler word, pausing and then speaking. Pausing and then speaking. Many people, in terms of the younger demographic of individuals, are scared of silence. Silence is awkward and they want to fill that silence with something. You need to keep quiet. Let the room be quiet and then say what you need to say. That's the best way you can be able to cut out filler words, but it takes time. It's not a once-off thing. It's a constant improvement. When you see yourself use filler words, you need to cut it out. Try again, cut it out. Try again, cut it out. And until you get to the point where you can be like me and speak for 10 minutes straight without using any form of filler words and using very, very good English. So it's just about practice. Being able to speak well and articulate yourself well is all about practice. Next step is reading more books and listening to podcasts of individuals more astute and articulate than you. You need to juxtapose somebody that does not have any form of habit of reading, any form of listening to content that is able to build their lexicon and their vocabulary, and somebody that reads a lot. The difference is massive. So you need to understand that even though it may be boring, you need to read. Even though it may be boring and long and tedious, you need to listen to podcasts. Because inadvertently, you're just growing the way you speak without even trying to speak. You just learn new words and then you add those new words whenever you say it to somebody. So you need to understand that you have to be constantly learning. Because as I said, speaking or articulating yourself and being able to use that to influence people is a skill. And like any skill, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And last and final step, in terms of being more charismatic and more influential, you need to understand human nature. Humans want to feel good about themselves. Humans want to feel important. Charismatic people aren't charismatic. Interesting people aren't interesting because they're interesting people. Most interesting people are interesting because they're interested in you. They ask you what you want to do. They ask you about your life. They compliment you on what you're wearing. They compliment you on how you smell. They compliment you about the way you hold yourself, the way you articulate yourself. Charismatic people understand that the best way to be more charismatic is to have a love for people and try to avoid conflict as well as you can. I try to avoid conflict as well as I can until it gets to a point where I can't, because if you avoid conflict for too long, it shows weakness. You need to be able to have conflict and gauge it well so it can be a productive situation. But you need to understand that to be able to be charismatic, you have to have an interest in people. So with that being said, I want to put you on to the book for today. The book for today is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, a very big book in terms of communication, articulation. And